Esmond here for Winners and Winers, trying to make you a better, being brought to you by No House Advantage. David's going to tell you what the offer is. David?
Yeah, this video with No House Advantage, there's a promo code WNW. Go and sign up. Whatever you put in, they're going to match you up to $100 of a first-time deposit bonus. So you're going to play some fantasy sports, put 100 in, you have another 100 to play with No House Advantage. Promo WNW.
Well, the Super Bowl is it's seemingly a few hours behind us. And are you ready for some football? Because football is back this weekend, if you could believe it. The XFL playing this weekend, and I like how they've scheduled things. They have a noon game on Saturday. You get a couple-hour break after that game is over, and then you have an evening game, 5 o'clock. I like the schedule on the West Coast. For me, I'd rather see a game at 12 and a game at 5 than a game at 3 and a game at 8 p.m. It gets me past my bedtime now.
And they're all on the ESPN or ABC, so they're on networks that people are thinking about that people are likely to even change to on accident. You don't have to really go digging to find where these games are.
Unlike, hockey, where it's on Root Sports or sometimes on TNT, or, man, that league is a mess television-wise. I like hockey. I love Vegas Golden Knights right here, but, man, they make it hard to watch. All right, Speaking of easy to watch, this weekend, 4 games, because there are 8 teams. There's going to be 4 games every weekend. And the season starts with the Vegas Vipers and the Arlington Renegades. Vegas Vipers have a lot of things going for them. The quarterback, Luis Perez, is very good. They've got a great tight end in Brandon Dillon, at least he was. Martavis Bryant at wide receiver is a known quantity from the NFL. Any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, with that one, I think that Vegas with their, even though, I do like Bob Stoops with the Renegades, it looks like right now you're with
well, you're a Texas guy too, so you're kind of a homer on that Arlington thing.
But even with some of these rules in the 2-point conversions and the 3-point conversions and things like that, I think that the Vipers, based off of the things that you mentioned, even though they're on the road, it looks like they're about a 3.5-point dog. If you're going to play that, I think that they might be worth a shot at the money line or to cover that 3.5. So I do like Vegas for what it's worth in that game.
Speaking of where you are located, the second game that night, Houston Roughnecks play host to the Orlando Guardians. And, by the way, something to point out, all these teams are going to play real home games and real road games, right?
That is correct. That is correct. Unlike what we saw with the USFL last year, where all those games were in a Mobile, they will have, and they've got a stadium in Houston that the Dynamo play at, so they're not playing at the same stadium as the Texans, or they have a legit stadium that they're going to be playing in. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes on week 1. But yeah, it's a true home field advantage.
On Sunday, quickly about that game, the Orlando Guardians are picked by most books to be the worst team in the XFL. And the Houston Roughnecks, look, they got some real head coaching experience in Wade Phillips.
Yeah. And the Roughnecks, it's weird because when you're looking at the books, they seem like one of the teams. Let's say the Roughnecks and DC Defenders. I don't think that the sports books really know what to expect, because I've seen some places where, they're considered maybe a top 3 team and some where they're bottom 3. So even though there's only 8 teams. So I think that Houston is going to definitely be an interesting team. In this particular game, they've got a big coaching advantage. As far as the Guardians go, Terrell Buckley, he's got coaching experience, but never as a head coach. I think with the home field advantage, Houston definitely has a advantage in this game.
St. Louis Battlehawks are going to the San Antonio Brahmas. And the San Antonio Brahmas, I'm sorry, their head coach, is that the one that Hines Ward is the head coach of, or is it?
Yes. San Antonio is Hines Ward, yes.
Hines Ward doesn't have any coaching experience.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game to see. I know the Alamo Dome can definitely get loud However, how what is the crowd going to be like? It's going to be interesting, and how much are they going to be in that? But Hines Ward, I just really don't know what to expect from him at all in this one. And I think that it's interesting that for that reason, they're actually a underdog in this game. Which you don't see too much,
Yeah,
but
the
they
home team, the XFL, being a dog. That's because the St. Louis Battlehawks, I think they've got probably the best quarterback in the XFL in A.J. McCarron. A.J. McCarron was great at Alabama. He won a national championship. I don't think he really got a fair shot at Cincinnati. He played well, but he was in a bad situation. It was the end of a coaching era. They were making lots of changes to the franchise. I don't know if he really got a fair shot, but I'll tell you what, if you want to look at resumes, I don't know who's got a better resume at quarterback in the XFL than A.J. McCarron.
Going back not too far ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when the Browns were more of a mess than they are now, I remember them even having rumors of would they give up a second round pick for AJ McCarron. And it seems like that wasn't that long ago. Now he's not in the NFL anymore. But you're right. He's one of those guys that a lot of teams seem to think could have been a starter and didn't really get the much of a chance. And this will be a good opportunity to see what he can do here.
Maybe he makes it back to the NFL. There are a number of players that are in the NFL that were in the USFL, and there are a lot of players in the XFL that were in the USFL last year. Among them in this next game, the Seattle Sea Dragons. Also, Seattle Sea Dragons, Jim Haslett is their head coach, and their offensive coordinator is June Jones. So, I mean, you got 60 years of high-level coaching experience out of those two guys, right?
Yeah, high level and definitely offensive minded. Yeah, I really like as much as we can for what we know. I really like this Seattle team. I'm about as excited to watch them play as any of these teams, and they're actually finding themselves as a small favorite on the road, which is, like I said, for there not to really be any stats with these teams being a road favorite definitely does tell you something, especially when they're on a whole nother coast. So Seattle is a team that I think both of us expect great things from.
And then they're playing the DC Defenders, who I don't know much about. I do know this, though. When I made my crib notes as far as who do I like in the XFL, they don't show up on my list at all. They don't show up at coach. They don't show up at quarterback. They don't show up at offensive threat, and they don't show up in X factors. I don't have them on there at all. So I'm going to have to learn more about the DC Defenders, because they're actually the favorite and bet online to win the championship at plus 400.
Yeah, they'll be interesting. Their head coach Reggie Barlow, he does have some head coaching experience. It's all at the smaller college level. He's at Virginia State, which is an HBCU, a Division II school. So he does have head coaching experience, but not at this level. So how that compares to Hines Ward. Now, he's played in the NFL. Well, but we'll have to see how that goes. This is going to be his highest level that he's ever coached at.
If you ask me to go through the list here, I lean Vegas, I lean Houston, I lean St. Louis, and I lean Seattle in these games. Any differences of opinion there?
Well, I don't want to just agree with you on all of these.
You're gonna find a reason.
I definitely like Seattle, but I'll go with I'll go back. I'll go ahead and back up. We'll go with Arlington. We'll go with Arlington. We will go with Houston, and let's say with that Sea Dragons and Defenders, throw a twist there. I think that even though the clock stops after incomplete passes, I think that the offense
you're
for
gonna
Seattle,
love the unders in these games, don't you?
Well, I was gonna say, I think that it might be interesting to watch the unders, but I'm gonna go over in this Sea Dragons Defenders game. One thing to keep in mind though is with these, they've got the 3-point conversions. You also have, I believe, late in the game, if you're behind, you can decide
Go
to
for a
run.
4th and 15 instead
Yeah,
of
4th and
right.
15. So there's some opportunities, like even if you don't convert, for points to go the other way, or for a team to get 9 points off of a touchdown. So even though we could have some low scoring games, when a team can get 9 points off of a touchdown, that's always
Yeah,
something to be careful
always
of with
something to be
unders.
careful of. The defense is going to be ahead of the offense, is for me at the beginning
Yeah,
of every season. I think you're going to see a lot of offensive dysfunction in week one.
yeah,
You got a lot of new coaches. I think you're going to have some clock problems. You're going to have you're going to have delays of game. You're going to have illegal procedures. You're going to have too many men on the field on a lot of these teams. They don't have a lot of practice time together. I think they've been together for 3 weeks maybe
yeah.
as teams, and a lot new coaches, new systems. Yeah, I think you're going to have a lot of sloppy play, and I lean unders. Look, I'm going to do some premium picks. We're just generalizing here. I'm not betting the house this weekend. I do have a couple of premium picks you should look for, because there's a couple of these games that I think there are obvious mismatches, and you can get those in my premium picks. You gonna do any picks? You gonna stay away from the XFL for a while until it's a little more dialed in, David?
I'm gonna I think I'm gonna play a couple of these games. Low amounts, obviously, to see how it plays out, but I do plan on playing a couple of these games and seeing how it goes, because at
If
the end.
nothing else, it's going to make these games more interesting to watch. And if, for God's sake, at least it's football. For
Right.
me, I am such a huge football fan that, oh my God, it's football. Great.
And at the same time, even once we start to see what these two teams do and we get more information, the book also gets more information. So
Right.
at least we're at that situation right now where none of us really know more than too much more than the
No,
others.
we're just, we're like I said. I mean, this is the extent of my notes on the XFL so far. I have
Yeah.
just the most basic. Hey, I like this coach. I like this QB. I like these X factors on these teams. And like I said, there are some that get multiple points, and those are the ones I'm going to lean on this weekend. But you're going to get those in my premium picks. Not going to give them away here. But you know where we're leaning and what we're thinking, and you can look at our premium picks. And if you really want to get serious about the first weekend of the XFL, go ahead and look for those there. And of course, David's on a great run with college basketball. He always is with basketball. He's a basketball betting savant. So if that's your thing, you want to be checking out David's premium picks. All right, I'm Loud Esmond. He's David Delano. We're with Winners and Winers. We're trying to make you a better